Hi there, this is Jacqueline with Nickel and Dime Decor. I am so pleased that you are joining me today. I think I've just got the neatest project. You're going to want to do it. It's a table runner, but my pattern is a twin size quilt, and it's called First Date. It's an oldie, but I wanted a table runner, and I thought, gee, that would make a pretty good size and pretty. So now you can't tell, but this is the block. Isn't that's a pretty block? And that's what I'm going to do. And I think you'll just, whichever, if you want to do the quilt, it's 5 rows, 5 across. If you want to do the table runner, we're just doing this. You could even do a baby quilt with 4 and 4 would be a perfect size. So adapt it to your liking. Now, this is what I have come up with so far. This is my table runner. Isn't it beautiful? If I do say so myself. I have 4 blocks made, and I just need 1 more, and I'm going to show you how it looks before it's put together. Beginners can do this, and intermediates, accomplished quilters, you'd have fun doing it, and it just comes out real good. Now, I've always told you on my videos that my 1/4 inch seam on my sewing machine, I have to adjust. And I have to move my needle over to the right to get a good 1/4 inch seam. So this is the basis right here. This core right here is your foundation. And you sew the 3 blocks first. These are 2.5 inch squares. The pattern uses jelly roll strips. And I've told you this before, jelly roll strips aren't always true 2.5 inch. So I used a 2.5 inch, a 6 inch square up ruler to cut out my 2.5 inch off of the jelly roll strips. I used jelly roll strips, I used scraps, what I had. So you take 3 2.5 inch blocks that you're going to use throughout, but I alternated them. Now this one's a different one, but it will be in the center after I add the other one. But I put my red floral and I alternated them, but otherwise it's the same 3 squares. And you sew them together, simple. Then you sew, these are 6.5 inches long, 1.5 inch wide, and you sew this strip on. If it does not match perfectly, redo these. Undo them, redo them until it matches, because the whole thing won't work unless you do that. So you do your 6.5 inch strips on the sides. These are 4.5 inch by 1.5 on the ends. That's your core of your block. Now the directions say to take 2 jelly roll strips, cut them 18 inches long, sew them together side by side, and then subcut into 2.5 inch segments. I did that on my first square, and I found it much easier, and I'll show you it as it's laid down. I found it much easier to just piece the blocks together as I went. I sewed two together, 2 together, then joined them. And that way I had a better eye's view of how to place. I could move my colors around and get them where I wanted. So I just sewed, like I said, my strips that way. You can do it the other way. it's fine. It's whichever way you want to do it. For the table runner, 5 blocks with 4 sashing strips. It will have 4 sashing strips when I get the other one on. It takes, I don't know exactly fabric-wise because I just sewed as I went, but I wrote down what I need, and you need 20 of these 4-patch strips because there's 4 on each square, 5 on each block, 5 blocks. So you need 20 of these 4 2.5-inch strips. You will need, of your 3 right here, you will need 5, 5, and 5. And your sashing strips are 3.5 inches by 12.5. Your block is 12.5 inches wide. Now, like I said, for this to all just sew up beautifully, this has to be sewn correct. You have to have that good 1/4 inch. So, don't just proceed. If it doesn't match with this 6.5-inch strip, take it apart and adjust accordingly. Okay? Now, if you want this pattern, like I said, it's for a twin size quilt, and a twin size quilt is 69 by 89. And I would tell you that if you want to make it, if you want to make the quilt 5, 5, and 5, you'll need 30 jelly roll strips, a yard of white fabric, a dot print, 2 yards of white background grid print, 2 1/4 yards of white floral is your border all the way around this, all the way around, 2/3 binding, and 5 1/3 yard backing, and 73 by 93 batting. Okay, that's for a twin if you want to do it. If you want to do the baby quilt, 4 and 4, it'll come out, I think, about 40 by 50. It'll be a good size baby quilt. Okay, the table runner, being 5 blocks in the sashing, I haven't measured it yet, but it's going to be pretty long. So if you don't want it that long, make it 4 blocks. But, you know, doing things in odd numbers, either 3 or 5 is the best. So let's get our camera down now. Okay, here's the block before it's sewn. Here's your 3 2.5-inch squares. Sew those together. Then you add your 6.5 by 1.5 on both sides. Then you add your 4.5-inch by 1.5, top and bottom. Then I just sewed, first you add the sides. So I would just sew these 2 together, these 2 together, and then join. And you put those on each side. Then you do the same thing for the bottom. Sew that together, sew this together, and then join in the middle. That is your block. That is just so simple. It won't take you any time. I made this up just real quick. It won't take you any time to do it. And I'll come back after I have done this last block and put the sashing, And then I'm going to put my batting and my backing all right sides together. Well, first I'm going to sew 1.5 inches of the cream colored all around on the edges, on the sides, go all the way around. And then I'm going to cut out my batting and backing and lay it right sides together. I'm going to sew it all the way around and then turn it. I guess I could turn it on the side here, leave an opening and turn it, and have it sewn together. I'm going to do that way because I'm not going to put a binding on it. I just want that little 1.5 inch around it. I think that will make it even pop that much more, and that's all I need. And then when I get it put together, then I'm just going to stitch in the ditch, because we have so many squares that that will be sufficient. That will be more than enough to do, and it'll be done. It will be a beautiful, beautiful project. And like I said, make it for Christmas, make it for fall colors, make a whatever your color scheme is. A beautiful, beautiful table runner. And we'll have a final picture of it when I get it all done. Thank you. Well, what do you think? My goodness, it's a long table runner, isn't it? 5 blocks, but it measures about 53, 54 inches long. But when I put it across my dining room table, it'll just have a drape of about 6 inches on each side, and that's what I wanted. So if you want yours shorter, just don't do as many blocks. 4 or 3, however long you want it to be. It hasn't been ironed because, as you can see, my iron quit and I had to go buy a new one. I hadn't had that other one but about a year, maybe 2, so I'm a little perturbed. But anyway, once I get my new iron plugged in and set up, I'm going to iron it. But I think the white trim around it was a good idea. I like that. So now I'm going to put my binding and my backing on and do some stitch in the ditch quilting, and I'll be done with it and it will be ready to go. I'm going to put it on a cream colored tablecloth, and I have dishes that are black and with a little bit of, well, they're hard to describe, but anyway, and I have black placemats that are exactly that one print of black. So, boy howdy, I can't wait to show you my new table setting. I think it's just going to be gorgeous. I did have to do a little piecing on my strip, but that was just inevitable for me to use what I had, so it's okay. So I'll get this all put together and get it quilted and come back and show you the finished product. Well, there is the finished product. I didn't put my centerpiece or anything else on there because I wanted you to see that it fits perfectly. It's the same over on the other side, how much is hanging off of there and draped off of there. But I'm just real pleased with it, and I hope it's a project that you like to do, and I hope my instructions were easy for you, and please make the first date table runner. Thank you so much. I would appreciate it if you haven't already, if you'd subscribe to my channel. It would mean the world to me. Thanks a bunch. God bless.